All right, what's going on, my friends? It's now 3 o'clock, Chad here. All right, breaking news in the NBA. According to Chris Haynes and Shams, Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year deal worth $42 million to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. Shams says Dame will use the upcoming season to rehab his torn Achilles, and that a return home to be closer to his kids was a priority. I am stunned. More on Dame coming up on the Rip City Drive. The Trailblazers will continue their Summer League action tonight. Meet the Rockets at 5 in Vegas. It can be seen on KUNP and Blazers Vision. The Rip City Drive is coming at you right now.
Dame, 5 seconds, no pick being set. Lillard now dancing, a long three for the win. Got it! At the buzzer! He did it again! Damian Lillard with ice water in his veins, drains a three-pointer, a career-high 8 three-pointer made, and the Blazers walk off the court a winner again in dramatic fashion.
A guy like myself that's trying to prove myself. I was ready for the challenge, but you can't get caught up in that. I was more concerned with doing whatever I need to do to help my team win the game.
Dame on the wing. He's been quiet in the second half. He dribbles, he drives, he steps through, up and under, off the glass, and it's good! The Blazers take the lead.
Batum throws to Lillard, a three for the game.
Whoa! That boy is special.
You've got to pinch me. I must be dreaming.
I'll pinch you.
They pushed us, we pushed them. It came down to one play. We was able to make one more play and win the series.
Out to Dame, a three for the lead. Good! Damian Lillard has got 39, and the Blazers are in front 117-116.
You know, I'm prepared to go in and do my job every year like I always do.
It's time for the Rip City Drive, brought to you by Goldberg Jones. Divorce for Men, 1-800-DIVORCE. Featuring the crazy and often irrational longtime Portland radio vet, Chad Dewing. The Rip City Drive with Chad Dewing starts now.
All right, let me give you the phone number right now. It's 503-248-0620. I am stunned. About 20 minutes ago, Chris Burkhardt called me. He goes, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And I'm like, "See what?" And he goes, "Dame is coming back." And I don't even think I said anything. I was stunned. And then I tweeted out exactly what was on my mind when I saw the report from Shams. Holy bleep. According to Shams and Chris Haynes, Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year, $42 million deal to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. Lillard's deal is expected to include a player option in 27-28 and a no-trade clause. Lillard and the Blazers both deeply cared about the comeback in recent weeks, with multiple meetings among the Blazers, franchise icon, general manager Joe Cronin, and head coach Chauncey Billups to bond together and move forward united on a new deal. The Bucks, of course, waived Dame earlier in the month and stretched the remaining $113 million on his contract in order to sign Miles Turner. Dame is now going to have the 2025-26 season a set salary of $70 million between Portland and Milwaukee, and a salary of $141 million over the next 2 years ahead of an opt-out in 27. Blazers officials and Aaron Goodwin of Goodwin Sports Management are finalizing the terms this week. Lillard's going to use, according to Shams, the upcoming season to rehabilitate the injury, but a return to the franchise and Portland, where his family and children reside, were of the ultimate importance. He also had multiple mid-level exception and minimum offers from NBA contenders. Portland traded Lillard to the Bucks for Drew Holiday, Tamani Kamara, and assets in 2023, and then swapped Holiday to the Celtics for Robert Williams III and Malcolm Brogdon, an asset that led to Denny Avdia And now the Blazers have both Lillard and Holiday, plus Avdia, Williams, Kamara, and a 2029 first-rounder and 2 Bucks pick swaps. Of course, Dame spent his first 11 seasons in Portland with the Trailblazers. Now, I think I've mentioned this before, but I do know some of Dame's family, and I was talking to an individual just recently, and he was very adamant that Dame was going to return to Portland. And I had mentioned after the Bucks had waived Dame that I had no problem with a return to Portland. I just didn't think it would happen right now. I didn't think it made sense right now, but I'm sure happy that it's done. And I want your reaction, 503-248-0620. Damian Lillard is one of those players that are rare from the standpoint that every once in a while you have a franchise that has a player that is iconic, someone that is a true cornerstone. You know, for me, I had guys like that growing up. John Elway in the Denver Broncos, Kobe Bryant in the LA Lakers, Larry Bird in the Boston Celtics. There are certain athletes that are so big to their town, to their team, to their community, that when you have an opportunity like this to reunite, you just simply have to do it. You got to make it happen. And the Blazers are able to get Dame, one of their all-time great players, get him back on a very inexpensive deal. And now Damian Lillard is going to be able to do what he truly desired, which was to retire as a Portland Trailblazer. I would imagine he will end his career here in Portland now. And you know what's interesting? Damian Lillard, and this is what I love about this guy. Unlike so many superstars in sports who are quick to jump on a new deal, a new contract, a new team, they want to chase a ring, they want to do this, they want to do that. Damian Lillard has long maintained that he loves Portland, he loves the Trailblazers, and he wants to be in Portland. And the national narrative forever has been Dame's got to find a way to get himself out of Portland. Well, it eventually happened, and he was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks. But you remember, there was hesitation at the end before the deal was done. Dame didn't want to go. I think it was one of those situations where the people around him wanted it to happen more than he did. He loves it here. He spends his time here, and he's a franchise great. So this is pretty awesome. The other thing that's cool, too, is that Joe Cronin, Chauncey Billups, Damian Lillard, anything that needed to be mended has been mended. And you get a chance to bring back one of the all-time greats in franchise history. Now, I have not conducted a poll, but the early returns I'm getting from almost everybody is they love the move. And that's because we love Dame. He's one of those terrific individuals who has embraced the area. He's made Portland his home. He's got his family here. He's a West Coast guy. And he's handed us some of the best moments in franchise history. So I'm pretty excited about this move. And let's face it, they did need to add shooting. They did need to add someone that can fill it up. And Damian Lillard can definitely do that. Now, if you ask me how this is going to work after the upcoming season when he rehabs, how's he going to fit in? What's the rotation going to look like? I have no idea. And I'm just glad I don't have to make those decisions. That's why Chauncey Billups is getting the jake that he's getting to be able to make those type of decisions. I have no idea. I'm not worried about what's going to happen with the rotation or the minutes or any of that kind of stuff next season, a year from now. I'll worry about it then. Right now, I'm just going to celebrate the fact that Dame is back where he belongs, which is in a Trailblazer uniform. And he is, with Clyde, with Walton, one of the all-time greats in franchise history. There's no question about it. So I have reached out to multiple people. Just so you know what's coming up on the show, Chris Burkhart's going to join me in studio. Casey Holdaw is going to join the show. Sean Hyken's going to join the show. But most importantly, I want to hear from you. I want to celebrate this moment with Dame coming back, and I want your thoughts. Do you like the move? 503-248-0620. There's one guy I know that loves Dame more than anyone, and that's Ken in Vancouver. Ken, welcome to the Rip City Drive. Congratulations. Dame's back.
I am outside my post right now. Woo! I just yelled at the top of my head in front of my post in my security uniform. Part of me died when Dame left a couple years ago, and I am insane. So, man, I feel my lightness in my heart again. I want to thank Joe Cronin and Chauncey. I forgive you, Joe Cronin, now. And Dame will rehab for a year, and I guarantee you this is full circle. This is the way, as they say. I'm so excited, Chad.
You got it, man. There's Ken in Vancouver. Ken loves Dame. It's his favorite player by far, and he was distraught and thought it was crazy when the Trailblazers traded him away. How can you trade that guy? He's a franchise great. I mean, Ken was really frustrated, and now he's back. Let's go back to the phone. Steve, West Lynn. Steve, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's your reaction to Dame coming back home?
Chad, I am ecstatic. This is one of the best things that could possibly happen. I've been telling my friends it needed to happen, and I just want to provide some perspective. I've been a fan for 25 years. Bill Walton, he never was able to give us closure because of his injuries. Clyde Drexler, he didn't want to come back. But Damian Lillard coming back is one of the best things that could have happened to this franchise, and I'm so excited for anybody who's watching. And if you're not watching and you're down on the team, get back up because we're closer to winning than everybody thinks.
You got it,
Chad.
man. You got it. There's Stephen West Lynn. Let's go out to Tony in Portland. Tony, welcome to the show, my friend. Your reaction.
Chad, my man, Joe Cronin needs a freaking award after this. If this draft pick and Dame get on the floor together, we're gonna have some Yang sanity and some Dame Yang combo. It's gonna be dying.
I love it, man. The Dame Yang combo. Give it to me. Let's go to my man Tony and Boring. Tony, what's up, brother? Your reaction?
I was trying to talk on the last call, figuring you just said Tony in Portland again, but obviously it wasn't working. Hey, this is awesome news. It's a 24-hour turnaround. Yesterday was such doom and gloom. Obviously, with Dame coming back, I don't really think there's any chance in hell the team moves to Seattle. So that's the biggest point in my view of him coming back. I love the direction of the team. I was not in favor of him coming back so soon. I think you were as well. But like I said, just in regards to what we were talking about yesterday, I think that's the most important piece of Dame coming back. I love the guy. I think he's going to, be as long as he fulfills the role in which we all see that he should, being an older player coming off that injury, and doesn't mess with the continuity of this new team that we got going. I think it's going to be great.
Oh yeah, dude, it's awesome. It's really awesome. Let's go up to Tacoma. Sean in Tacoma. Sean, your reaction to Dame coming back home?
Chad, I'm super excited about this move. I think it's awesome to see Dame back in Portland. And with all that money that OKC just spent and talking about breaking up that team with those contracts, I'm excited to see Dame wave goodbye to that core sometime soon.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. So far, everyone's excited. Sean in Tacoma, Tony in Portland, Tony in Boring, 503-248-0620. Let's go to Hermiston. Let's touch everywhere in the state. Pat in Hermiston, you're welcome to the show, my friend. What's your take on Dame coming back home?
Well, my first take was shock, and I kind of felt for Dame. He should have went to Houston. That would have been a good match. But there's a huge irony here in that for Cronin to be able to surround Damian with the players that fit his game, he had to send him out to Milwaukee for 3 years and get him back on a contract that allowed that to happen. I mean, he's got defensive wings. He's got at least one center that can screen like a beast. And, then you got Drew, maybe your two guard that is an elite defender compared to the two guards he had while he was here. So I shake my head and say, well, why not us?
Exactly. Why not us? Why not us? All right, 503-248-0620. If you're on hold, stay there. We're going to get to your phone calls next. Chris Burkhart's going to join in on the discussion. If you're just joining me, the big news, it's stunning. Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year deal to return back home to the Portland Trail Blazers. He'll get $42 million from Portland, and he still gets paid out by the Bucks, so he's well taken care of. Most importantly, he gets to be back home with his family and his children, which is a big thing for him, and he'll use the upcoming season to rehab the torn Achilles. And right now, Joe Cronin getting rave reviews from the Trailblazer fans. I want your reaction, 503-248-0620. We'll take your calls. And Chris Burkhardt in studio when we come back on the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, multiple ways that you can listen. We're on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com, pull up Rip City Radio 620, and you can subscribe and like the page. We have all of our local shows streamed from studio. You can also pull up the show and podcast it on our free iHeartRadio app at any time, 24/7, all week long. And, of course, here on 620 Rip City Radio, the breaking news today, which is stunning. Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year, $42 million contract to return to the Portland Trail Blazers. According to Shams, he will spend the upcoming season rehabbing the torn Achilles. But Dame, based on all of his social media posts, very happy to be back because he's with family, with his kids, and he's back home where he wants to be. Now, the telephone number, I want your reaction, 503-248-0620. My phone has gone nuclear, and I'm hearing from so many different people, friends, listeners, people who are a part of the broadcast business, people who work in the NBA. It's just nice to hear from everyone. And joining me right now in studio is my brother from another mother, Chris Burkhardt. And Chris, you called me and you're like, did you see it? And I was like, no, see what? Dame's coming back. I was like, wow.
It was like one of those conversations where like I had to keep checking my phone to see if I lost connection because you were not giving me anything back in return until you finally broke the silence and you're just like, I'm speechless. Like you were. It was, I mean, I walked outside the OSA office real quick to make the phone call. I came back in. I looked at Randy, who works at our front desk, and she's a big Blazer fan. So is, her kid, that's Peyton's mom, who's been on the show with us a few times. I look at her and like my hand is shaking. I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy news.
Yeah. What's great is so far, I've only seen a couple of negative comments. This is a wildly popular move. And this is a good reminder that Dame with Bill Walton and Clyde Drexler, but Dame especially because he's embraced Portland and he wants to be here and he's given so many people so many great memories throughout the years, 11 years with the Trailblazers before his return. They love him. He is beloved here in Rip City.
Yeah, I sent it out on social right before we jumped on, and it was a quick check of social media. It tells you all you need to know about how important Damian Lillard is to Portland. I mean, the people were hurt when he left, but, I mean, time heals all wounds, and here he is. And look at the level of excitement. Every single caller you just got on, shout out to Ken in Vancouver, who I haven't talked to in a while because we know he was upset when that happened, right? All these people out just excited for a guy who's not even going to play next year. Like, it's going to be a whole nother year before we even see him on the court. And this is how excited you are because just having him back representing the Pinwheel is massive.
I'm wondering what the main motivation was from Chauncey Billups and Joe Cronin to make this happen. I know why Dame wanted to come back, but I wonder why they saw this as an opportunity that, hey, we got to get this done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. That's a question I would love to have Joe and Chauncey in here right now to talk with that about. But obviously, it's definitely something that's important to Dame because you look at the fact that there's the reports that there was multiple teams, in on him for the vet minimum. And, you had a caller who's like, I feel bad for Dame because Houston was a great fit. Why? Why do you feel bad for Dame? He had his pick of the litter, and this is what he chose. You should feel ecstatic for him. He went where he wanted.
He wants to be here.
He went where he – think about this for a second. I think that's why this move, even, again, he's not going to play – likely next year or this coming season, but this is why this means a lot to Portland fans because he was a free agent for the very first time in his entire career. Pick of the litter. Every single playoff team, every single championship caliber team was knocking on his door because they were going to be able to get him cheap because of the buyout. And with teams like Golden State, teams like Houston, teams like Boston knocking on his door, he comes back to Portland. That tells you something about Damian Lillard.
Let's go out to Matt, who's on his way to the airport. Matt, welcome to the Rip City Drive with Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing. What's your take on Dame coming back home?
Hey, guys, originally I was going to call and try to poo-poo the deal and be like, hey, what are we going to do next year? How's this going to make Scoot feel? But then, Chad, you changed my mind. You're right. Let's celebrate this year. Dame's back, and let's leave the poo-pooing to, Fentress and those guys.
Yeah, there's no need to poo-poo it right now. Chris, I honestly don't know how this is going to work after the upcoming season when Dame's ready to play. I don't know how he fits. I don't know how they're going to work the rotation, but right now it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't matter. And then like Sean Hyken pointed out, is the fact that, again, he's not going to play. At least he shouldn't play. So it's not going to have any impact on your rotation with Drew Holiday and Scoot Henderson moving forward. And then, quite frankly, next year, especially if Scoot has a massive year, which we think he should or we want him to, Doesn't mean Dame's coming in and taking his seat. Dame can be your bench guy and still have plenty to give you because he's going to have to ease back in coming off that Achilles anyway.
Yes, and the good thing is, even though he's coming off an Achilles, the one thing that Dame has it will never leave is the shooting ability.
Mm-hmm.
He's always going to be able to do that. He may not be able to explode and attack the rim like we've seen in the past, but the deep shooting, the three-point shooting, the dead eye that he's proven to be over the years, that's always going to remain.
Yeah, until the day he retires, he's always going to have gravity, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be like Steph. Like once Steph loses his handles and his speed, which he still has right now,
Yeah.
once he loses that, yeah, he still has a half-court shot and he has gravity.
I don't remember what your initial thought was when Dame was bought out by the Bucks. Did you think he would eventually return to Portland? Did you think it made sense
Yes.
right now? What'd you think?
Yes, no. I 100% thought that a return to Portland was going to happen. That's from like all the intel that we've gathered over the last, 2 seasons in Milwaukee. But that the return was going to happen, that he wanted to be here at some point to wear the pinwheel, wanted to retire a Blazer. And I think that was something that was widely known, if not, wishful thinking, really wanted it to happen, right? I don't think anyone, and myself included, thought it was going to happen now. I thought, similar to our callers, I thought Houston was a great landing spot. I really thought Boston was going to be the one to get him because I'm sitting there looking at next season. I'm like, okay, you get Dame back from the Achilles injury. You get Tatum back from the Achilles injury. You got Jaylen Brown. You got everybody. That's what I thought. So I thought it was going to happen eventually. If you would have told me it was going to happen in July of 2025, I would have laughed at you.
Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Jackie in Sherwood. Jackie, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's your take on Dame coming back home?
Hey, Chad. Hey, Burke. I'm so excited. I was shocked when I saw it online, and I kept thinking, is this for real? And I kept looking around and looking around. But, it just shows you the caliber of person Dame is, that he wants to be near his family and back to where the place that gave him his first start. I'm excited. It's great.
Yeah, it's great. And everyone feels the same way that you do. Incredible. Ray, North Portland. Let's go talk to Ray. Ray, what's up, buddy? Your thoughts on Dame coming back home?
Chad freaking doing. Show me your Blazer!
Show me your Dame!
Oh, I'm so excited. I wanted this to happen. I thought it was going to happen, but not for another year or two. And then with the buyout, I thought, well, maybe. And talking with a mutual friend of yours and mine, he's like, I think it's going to happen. And wow, I was just getting out of a chiropractor appointment, and I heard something on the radio. Well, how are these two going to work together? And I told Stacy, look up on the phone. Did we re-sign Dame? And she goes, we did. We're working it 3 years. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even drive. I can't even think straight. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that sums it up right there. I can't drive. I can't think straight. I'm just excited. And you know what's great? They got him at a bargain price.
They did. And think about this. So basically, it's you're giving him all your MLE. You cut DeAndre Ayton, which gave you access to that. So everyone who sits there goes, why didn't he sign a vet min? Because this deal's still good. It's still good. You're not paying them that much per year, and you're still under your aprons. You're still good moving forward. This was money you had to spend to lock him up. Oh, yeah, and you want to talk about, his dedication to Portland? No trade clause. So watch out. Like this is a storybook type of thing. And, I mean, hopefully at the end of 3 years, he still has some left in the tank and re-ups again. But right now, like Mark Stein just tweeted that I'm a hopeless NBA romantic. I love the storyline of Dame going back to Portland.
I think that's the best part about the story is that maybe now the national talking heads will start to figure out that he wasn't just putting up a front. Like, he legitimately loves Portland.
Well, we heard when the trade happened that there was a little bit of that buyer's remorse, right? That don't get me wrong, he loved Milwaukee, loved Giannis, liked playing for that, loved the fans. But the minute he left Portland, part of him was like, I miss Portland.
Yeah, and I think he asked Joe to kind of kill the trade idea before it went down.
Yeah. I mean, and those are the reports we were getting, and we knew that. And the other thing here, too, I know that, Chad, I know that it is our job, right? It is our job to look at these things in basketball terms. But from the human side of it, you remember when he came back that first game with Milwaukee, and people were talking about, what it was like to be in Portland, and one of the first things he said was, he was just excited because he got to take Dame Jr. to school.
Yeah.
Because his kids are living here. So not only do you get to come back to the city you love, the team that you represented for most of your career, you're back here where you get to play dad 365 again. You're not halfway across the country, which is massive, man.
Yeah, he was miserable living across the country. He was miserable. And I understand it. You're away from your kids. You're away from everything you knew for over a decade being here in the Rose City, and now he has a chance to come back, which is terrific. It's just hard for people outside of Portland to understand why a superstar like Dame would love this area so much.
Yep.
But that's why Blazer fans love him, because he's embraced Portland. We've embraced him, and he's embraced the local area, and he loves it.
Yeah, maybe this is like the ultimate chess move, too, because after all the talk yesterday, which is funny because you originally were going to bring me on to talk about the Blazers, will they, won't they move? Imagine someone buys the team and says they want to move him to Seattle and Dame's on your roster, and he's like, not as long as I'm here. Well, they're going to trade you. You have a no-trade clause, buddy. Can't trade me. And then he could play make the ultimate play for greatest Blazer of all time and use the billions that he has in the bank from his Adidas deals. And okay, well, I guess I'll just buy the team and keep him here.
Then he'd become the all-time boss.
He would.
Yeah, Dame's a unique individual because he's always been great with the media. He's always been great with fans. He's always doing activities to stay involved in the community. He's always talked about his great love for the franchise and what it means for him to be a trailblazer. Like, he just handles his business the right way.
Mm-hmm.
He always has.
Yeah.
Ever since he was a rookie, it's been the same, and we just had a chance to see him mature throughout the years in that process, which has been great.
Yeah, and again, what this means in the long term, we'll find out, but I'll tell you this. You and I both believe that the moves that were made already this summer are paving the way and that Scoot Henderson will be the starter. I still think that he's the starter over Drew Holiday, right?
I agree.
And I still believe that Drew Holiday's probably here for a year before they tried to ship him back out. Well, if Scoot's your guy and he's made the big strides like Chauncey has talked about at Summer League, that he's been great all summer long, you got Damian Lillard and Drew Holiday in your locker room now. Two phenomenal guys, one great on the defensive side of the ball, one of the all-time best on the offensive side of the ball, just whispering in your ear. And you've seen it from Dame in his time here. Whenever he was hurt or on the sideline, he goes right into coach mode. So you're going to see him next year, obviously not playing, but he's going to be on that bench. He's going to be in Scoot's ear.
Yeah, the young Blazers, which we got excited about last year, the one thing they didn't have was a strong voice. Well, they now have that because Dame is a strong voice. Drew Holiday leads by example. You've got that leadership quality now that's been added into this team, which is terrific.
Yeah, and let me tell you what, too. We talked about that, and you just made a great point, but it's like last year, all those guys who were just kind of passive. Dame's not that. And Dame is one of those rare guys who is not going to play, but he's going to command that locker room, right?
Always.
There was a little bit of Robert Williams. There was the talk last year about like he's kind of that guy, but he doesn't speak up a ton when he's not playing. No, Dame's not going to play that game. Dame's going to go right back in and say, "Hey, thanks for keeping the seat warm. This is my town." But I just think it's crazy, Chad, when you think that Damian Lillard was traded to Milwaukee. They got Drew Holiday back in that package. They instantly shipped Drew Holiday to Boston to get Robert Williams and Malcolm Brogdon. Then they flip Malcolm Brogdon for Denny Avdia. They make a move for Nurkic and other pieces who end up going to Phoenix to net them DeAndre Ayton and Tumani Kamara. Well, then they buy out DeAndre Ayton, which gives them the money to sign Damian Lillard back so that he can join a team that now has Drew Holiday on it, Tumani Kamara, Denny Avdia, and multiple picks that they got in all those things. Like this is a wild circle of events, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Shams laid that out perfectly in the piece. Portland traded Lillard to the Bucks for Holiday, Tumani Kamara, and assets in 2023, and then swapped Holiday to the Celtics for Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, and assets. One led to Denny Avdia. Now the Blazers have both Lillard and Holiday, plus Avdia, Williams, Kamara, a 2029 first-rounder, and 2 Bucks pick swaps. It's not bad work if you can get it. Let's go back out to the phones. Kevin is in Portland. Kevin, welcome to the Rip City Drive. Chris Burkhardt, Chad Doing here. What's your reaction to the Dame trade?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. And I loved Dame when he was on the Blazers, but I just don't think this is a good move. I mean, we're ecstatic about a guy and paying a guy good money that's not going to play next year. So I guess I don't want to hear anything about whether we win next year because we don't have shooting. And whatever we're spending on Dame this year, we could get a shooter, and he's going to be 36 coming off an Achilles when he plays again. I mean, I just don't see how it fits with the vision that we've been told is the direction of the Blazers, even though it feels good to have him back, but it's not a basketball move.
Well, I appreciate the phone call, Kevin, and I understand your concern. The good thing is that Cronin, I don't think, is done. I think he's still looking to move Jeremy Grant. I think that's a possibility. There's still other assets that they can utilize to be able to sign someone that can bring in some of the offense, but I don't think their moves are done.
I don't think their moves are done, and this money doesn't hurt anything. Okay, like a shooter makes them better right now, absolutely, but it doesn't make them the contender? No. Is there still shooters available out there via the trade avenues that we've been talking about? Absolutely. And we'll see what happens there. But the fact that, again, the MLE was there, it was used, it does not hamper you moving forward. You still have a chance to go into next offseason with a buttload of cash to spend. Like, you're still set up absolutely perfectly for the next 2-3 years. Maybe Dame does not make sense in the nutshell of this year, which that I can agree with. He's not playing. But when you look at what's going to happen, obviously this team's going to get better. They're going to hit an offseason with money. He's going to be ready to go. You're going to be okay.
And one thing we have to remember, this team, this upcoming season, and it's the first time we can say this in a while, they're going to win games with defense. Yes, they need shooting, but they do have a few guys on the roster who can make shots. They're going to win with defense.
Yep.
My focus for them is to be a top 10 defense from the start of the season until the end of the season. And if they are, like we saw in the second half of last year, if they're a top 10 defense, they're going to win games because they're going to get stops and they're going to manufacture easy buckets with the pressure they create.
Did you see Chauncey's interview during the game, the Summer League game the other day?
I did, yes.
This is where he was asked about how do you make, you keep talking about, how do you make defense the identity of your team? And he was like, well, thanks for outing yourself for not watching us at all last year because defense was the identity of our team.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about. Look at the players they've added. Drew Holiday, known for defense. Tamani Kamara, one of the best young defenders in the NBA. Denny Avdia is a physical defensive type player. Donovan Clingan, not great in open space, but he's a good shot blocker. I mean, the way the roster's put together, you have guys who want to defend. And even Scoot Henderson in the second half of last season, the team very impressed with the effort and focus level by him on the defensive end. And now we just need Shaedon Sharpe to be more consistent like we saw for stretches in the second half of last season. We just need to see him be more locked in for longer stretches defensively. And they've got multiple guys, two-way guys who can go out there and get stops. And, oh, by the way, they still have Matisse Thybulle, who is a defensive-minded guy.
I mean, come on. He came in last year after missing most of the year. First game, gets a blocked shot to win the game. Like, you're going to be able to roll some filthy defensive lineups out there if you're the Blazers.
All right, Chris Burkhart's in studio with me. If you're on hold, stay there. We're going to get to your phone calls. The big news, Dame is coming back home. Agrees to a 3-year deal with the Trailblazers worth $42 million, reported by Chris Haynes and Shams. And we want to get your reaction. He's coming back home, my friends. Damian Lillard with the Trailblazers again. All right, Casey Holdaw is going to stop by at 4. Sean Hyken will join the program at 4:20. Damian Lillard is coming back home and will be a part of the Portland Trailblazers again, agreeing on a 3-year deal with $42 million. According to Shams, he'll use the upcoming season to rehab the torn Achilles. So what do you think about the move? Do you love it? Do you think it's a great move for Joe Cronin? Or are you concerned that it was an expensive PR move and could hamper the development of some of the young guys? 503-248-0620. Everyone, the vast majority of people that I've seen reacting to what's gone down, very happy with the move. And that's because, like Chris mentioned earlier, Damian Lillard is beloved in this town. And some of the videos that are on social media, how would you describe that video that Dame put out with the look inside the practice facility?
Chills. One word. I mean, if you're on Instagram, go look it up. If you are on Twitter, I see that Chris Haynes just tweeted it out. But it's a video from the practice facility, and it's just a pan down the row of lockers, right? And you see Denny Avdia, Tumani Kamara, you see Chris Murray, you see everyone, and then you hear a team practicing in the background, and then very last it gets to the end, and there's Damian Lillard's locker with a jersey hanging in it, and then it fades to black, and it says together again. It's like, oh, chills, man, chills.
I can't believe it. I did not expect this one.
No, I didn't either. And I do think, like, I get it. Like I said, I think that everyone wants to think in basketball terms, like our last caller. And yeah, his shooting's not going to be there this year, quite frankly. But sometimes I think a team or a fan base, right, who feels like they've just been kicked a little bit, needs some good news, man. And this news, everyone's just ecstatic. People love Dame. We got in these arguments all the time, Chad. Who's the greatest Blazer of all time? Oh, it's Damian Lillard. It's not Clyde. It's Damian Lillard. It's Dame. And the reason why is because of the way he connected to the city, right? The way Clyde left never felt right for people. The way LaMarcus left never felt right. And then when Dame left, like, no, not again. So when this happens the way it did today, again, when he had his pick of the litter and he picked you, Blazer fans feel pretty good about that right now.
He is the best free agent signing in the history of the franchise. Like, legitimately. They've never had a star in free agency, and they get Dame back on a 3-year deal worth $42 million. It's pretty amazing. I am stunned, but I'm also excited, and I understand why, Joe Cronin and the Portland Trailblazers would do this. The majority of people I talked to when they traded him, the vast majority of Blazer fans, they couldn't understand or make sense of why you would do that.
Mm-hmm.
You traded Dame? Why? Why would you do that? You traded Damian Lillard? Like, it's hard for people to understand how you could let someone like that go away because of what he means to the franchise, and now you bring him back, and it really is a win for the fans. It's a win for us. It's a great PR move, but I do think Dame, aside from the great publicity they're going to get from this signing, when he does come back, he'll be able to help them on the basketball floor because of his unique shooting ability, his offensive acumen. He can do some good things even later in his career, so I think he'll still be able to make contributions and show flashes of greatness.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still going to be able to make contributions, and then you look at the money that he's being paid. Like, I know people worry about that, but what'd you say? 3 years, $42 million? Like, that's going to be nothing. I mean, yes, the cap is increasing by less than we thought for next season, but that's nothing for a guy who is going to find a way to impact your game.
Let's go out to Pat in Portland. Pat, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's your reaction to Dame coming back home?
I think it's great. And number two, I think it's a two-pronged thing. I think number two, I think that if there's a strong possibility with him playing, I think also it's going to help ticket sales and the sale of the team to somebody local. But here's my other idea with that is I think he could be part of the ownership down the road. I think he could buy in on keeping the team here.
Well, I'd be all about that. If Dame could somehow become involved in ownership at some level, that would be phenomenal. I love seeing athletes with their opportunities now being empowered and being in ownership. I think it would be great if Dame at some point could be involved in some level on the franchise. One of the things I've always thought was a bit odd is that I would like to see more alumni more involved in the franchise. And they've done that. Jerome Kersey was involved. Terry Porter's involved. But I'm all about guys who mean a lot to a franchise if they so desire to be involved. And, Dame obviously is one of the all-time greats, but we'll see what his post-career brings.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a Chauncey thing, being the guy he is, who has such respect for multiple different eras. But I do feel in the last few years that they've been so much better at it, right? Like I love that Greg Oden got a true kind of send-off, right? When he came back and Portland fans embraced him. I loved that. I loved that when I was at the Young Hansen introductory press conference that Brian Grant's there. Like I love that. So I love the fact that the old guys have been coming around just a little bit more often. And yeah, if you got Dame in ownership, yeah, you might as well just call it the Damian Lillard Center because he owns this city.
As a working media member over the years, what's it been like covering Dame?
I thought Dame was absolutely one of the best athletes ever covered. I mean, when you are a journalist and you need to go get a quote, he's going to give it to you, and he's going to respect you, whether it's the first time you've ever asked him a question or the 1,000th time. He was always ready. After every single tough loss, there he was. After every great win, there he was. And I've seen plenty of players, even the good ones in Portland, go out the back door because they just didn't want to deal with the media today, which is fair because sometimes it sucks, right? Yeah. But Dame always understood that as the face of the franchise, he has a little bit of a extra special thing that he has to do, and he always talked no matter what.
All right, before you go, I want you to listen to this. Sean Highkin at the press conference with Commissioner Silver a couple of nights ago.
Sean?
Sean Highkin, Rose Garden Report. Adam, the Paul Allen estate a couple of months ago announced that the Trailblazers are officially for sale, so I'm just curious from the league's end, has there been any updates on that? And also, is it a priority for you guys that the team gets sold to a group that wants to keep the team in Portland long term?
Yeah, it's the league's preference that team remain in Portland. We've had great success in Portland over the years. I don't have a specific update on the process, but I know it is underway, and I know there are groups that are actively engaged with the estate and have demonstrated interest in that team. I'd say one of the factors there is the city of Portland likely needs a new arena. So that will be part of the challenge for any new ownership group coming in, but it does certainly be our preference that team remain in Portland.
All right, there is Commissioner Silver. It was Sean Highkin who asked the question. What's your reaction to what Commissioner Silver had to say?
Well, first off, we need to coach Sean up a little bit. When he gets a stage like that, he needs to say Sean Highkin, Rose Garden Report, and Rip City Radio 620.
Yes.
He said that. But,
funny, that's the first thing I thought. Like, come on, Sean.
But no, here's the deal. Adam Silver is not in the position. He can't say Portland's never going to leave. We want them in there no matter what, because you never know when the door's going to crack open. Crazy things happen, right? And then he's the one stuck with dirt on his face. But I absolutely believe that, A, it's the preference that they remain here. B, I believe they're going to remain here. They're not going to go to Seattle. And he understands that. Sometimes you're the commissioner. You got to play a little bit of hardball. He's obviously talked to the people who talking to the team, right? And they know that they want renovations. They want a new arena. Well, the commissioner just said it, so now the pressure's on.
All right, Chris Burkhardt in the studio. I appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by, brother.
Always.
All right, we'll come back. Casey Holdahl will join the show. We'll get his take on Dame coming back home to Portland. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Your reaction to the news that Dame is coming back home. I'd love to get your thoughts. Casey Holdahl is up next. All right, we got breaking news. Unbelievable. According to Chris Haynes and Shams, Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year deal worth $42 million to return to the Portland Trailblazers. According to Shams, Dame will use the upcoming season to rehab his torn Achilles tendon. But the key was a return home to be closer to his kids. That was a priority. We got more on Dame coming up on the Rip City Drive. Casey Holdahl going to join me in a couple of moments of your Portland Trailblazers. The team will continue their Summer League action tonight. They meet the Rockets at 5 down in Vegas. You can catch it on KUNP and Blazers Vision. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, you can listen, of course, on 620 Rip City Radio. If you want to join the live stream, we're on YouTube. Just pull up Rip City Radio 620. All of our local shows are streamed, and you can have a look inside studio, and we're always on our free iHeartRadio app. You know, Casey Holdahl, reporter and insider for the Trailblazers, he joins me on all pregame shows throughout the course of the season, so I have a chance to talk with him, and it's nice to catch up with him again twice in the same week with this type of news, and he's back on the show. And Casey, the reason why I wanted to bring you on, and I thank you for coming back on, is I know that you've always been close and had a very good relationship with Dame. So I would imagine for you, the news that popped today has got to be pretty exciting.
Absolutely. I'm very excited for the fans. I'm excited for Dame. I'm excited for myself. And I'm excited for the team. Like, I mean, I think it's a really smart move, and obviously it hasn't been announced officially yet, so I'm going to keep probably saying reportedly just because I don't want to get sideways with anybody. But, I mean, from all the reports, all the indications, like, it seems like a really smart thing for everybody. You know, I know you talked about Shams and kind of the situation Dame was in, and, you know, like his family is really important to them, and they're here in Portland, and so that's important to him. You know, I think we all know that kind of the way that things kind of ended the last time was, you know, I think it made sense for everybody, but, you know, things do change. And I think it became, you know, once kind of things didn't work out necessarily in Milwaukee, and then he gets the injury and then he gets waived, at that point in time, I think, you know, it starts to line up pretty well for a return to Portland. So I'm really happy. I think it's going to be great for everybody. Again, not just from like hey, it's nice Dame's coming back and he is a friend of mine, so I'm glad that he's going to be around more. But more just from like, yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense from a basketball perspective. And when kind of the basketball side can link up with kind of the personal side and the life outside of basketball, like that's always that puts you in a good place to have success. So, you know, I think, you know, initial reaction is it's awesome. I had a feeling that it might happen, so I feel pretty good about that too. So, you know, I think it's a very good thing, a very good day for the Trailblazers. And again, it just feeds also into kind of this broader notion that like it feels to me like we're just kind of starting to really build something that makes a lot of sense in Portland. And, you know, I think adding Dame to that mix makes that all the more valid.
Yeah, you know what's really cool? I think this story kind of sums up everything that we know about Dame. I've been telling people for years, like, no, he legitimately loves Portland and he wants to be here. He's made it his home. His family's here. And people outside of Portland just never really understood that. But I hope now that people outside of Portland, the national talking heads, will start to realize that it wasn't talk. Like, Dame has a connection with the community, with the town, with the area. He loves the franchise. It means a lot to him. He's a very loyal individual, and he'll never forget that the Trailblazers took a chance on him and drafted him. And we see that once again where he has a chance to come back home when, according to Shams, Casey, he had opportunities to go elsewhere to title contenders, but yet he chose Portland once again.
Oh, I know that he had a lot of options. Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. I mean, you know, obviously he's not going to play this season, but, you know, Dame is a very effective player, and like he knows who he is as a player. And, you know, when I've just talking to him throughout all the years, he's even talked about kind of the end of his career and feeling like, you know, once I kind of get to the point where, I'm kind of starting to transition out, like changing his game a bit and like being great about like accepting a role and like feeling that like the role that he can inhabit would be a very useful role for any team. And I think, we're going to get a chance to see that now in Portland. And you're right. Like Dame he's one of those guys, like the old line, he wasn't with me shooting in the gym, like Dame is the kind of guy that like he's about the day ones, like the people that were around him and that looked out for him and believed in him like before he became Damian Lillard, and that's what Portland is. And so like there's always going to be that affinity there as well. And you're exactly right, Chad. Like, so take the basketball side out of it. Like, so Dame goes to Milwaukee and say he signs somewhere else, closes out his career somewhere else. He's still coming back to Portland to live his life as a civilian. Like, I mean, this is his home now. And like, he really likes it here. Again, as you mentioned, his family's here, and like, this is his home. And, he spends time in Oakland, but like, this is where he lives. Like, he was going to make Portland his official, well, not official, but his actual like home for the rest of his non-playing career. So being able to do that now while still playing and still being an effective player. And again, obviously, he's got a year of rehab in front of him. So he's going to have to take that serious, as he will. And now, being around in Portland to a place where he's comfortable and he has a support system. And obviously the team is going to really put resources into making sure that everything is top flight in terms of that rehabilitation. Like it just makes a whole lot of sense, and it doesn't surprise me because you're exactly right, Chad. Like he's a Portland guy, and like nationally, there's not that many of those guys out there. So like I guess in some respects, you can understand more national folks being like, well, what's the deal there? But it's like, no, like he loves Portland. This is his home. He loves the fans here. He loves kind of what was built. I'm sure that he's liked what he's seen out of the team as of late. Joe Cronin and his staff are doing a fantastic job building a team. And I think people have kind of already said it. Like the team that they're building in Portland now is like the team that I think a lot of people were hoping the team could build around Dame when he was here. And, there were certainly reasons why that didn't happen. But now it's kind of getting to a point where it's like, yeah, this team is rounding into form in terms of their roster and rotation and kind of like the skills they have in this roster. And I think that was also really attractive to Dame too. I mean, I think either way, it probably ends up happening with the way that it played out with him getting waived and then getting all of his money from the Bucks. But even if that hadn't been the case, I think, he looks at what we've been kind of building here in Portland and sees a lot of basketball sense there too, more so than maybe you see other places that might be like quote unquote ready to win right now. But, he tried that and it didn't really work out. And, the world is fickle and things can change on a dime, and you can feel like you're on a championship contender one day, and then the next day, you're wondering if you're a lottery team. So like you can't predict those things. So trying to make decisions based off of what a team is going to look like a year from now when I'm ready to go is probably kind of foolhardy anyways. So like I think it played out just in the right way for Dame to come back and to not only just feel good about it, but like feel like, hey, this makes a whole lot of sense for basketball reasons, not just for like, it's great to get Damian Lillard back because he's such an important part of his community reasons.
I've got two more questions for you. We're talking with Casey Holdaw, a reporter and insider from your Portland Trailblazers. I would imagine the young guys will love having Dame back on the roster, but also it'll be nice to have that type of leadership back in that locker room, won't it?
It will. And, and another thing that I think is really, I mean, it's not good that Dame's injured. Obviously, an Achilles injury sucks. It's a bad thing. It's not good that it happened. But in this situation, giving it a year for him to be able to come back into the practice facility and be around the team without it being like, Damian Lillard's back, he's here to play, where are his minutes, what's his role, who's going to get set to the bench now because of Dame, like, you don't have to worry about that stuff now. Like, you have a full year to where, like, everyone gets to be who they are and play the way they play while Dame is also there providing leadership and also kind of surveying how things are going and being able to be a mentor to a lot of these guys on this team without it being like, yeah, but he's also going to take my minutes, like that I think is a really, I think it's a really nice part of the fact that he's not going to be out, that he's not going to be able to play this year. Like it gives everyone a chance to kind of get accustomed to it again and not have the pressure of like, boy, is this guy going to take my spot, as I mentioned, or like, what's his role going to be? Like, is Dame going to step in and, like be a 38-minute guy? And I don't even know if he's that guy anymore, even if he's fully healthy. So like, I think from the leadership perspective to like the community perspective to really, I think these guys know how important the team is to the city and the state and the region, but Dame absolutely knows. And so like, I think having a guy who just knows the landscape and understands what the team means to the community, who can also like impart that upon some of the new guys on the team as well, I think is great. Again, just all the way around, like it just makes too much sense. Like it just, every single piece of it to me seems to line up as like, this makes so much sense for Dame to come back, both for Dame, for the Trailblazers, for the fans, like, and without it being like, boy, they're really going to have to really make some sacrifices in order to do this. Like if you look at the numbers, it seems to me like he's basically getting around the mid-level if what's being reported is what plays out. And I don't know if they were going to have or use that mid-level on anyone else this year anyways, because I just don't know if there was someone out there that, one, was going to come to Portland, and two, that they felt like was really kind of worth that investment. So like it, and the reason you got the mid-level, I think, is because DeAndre ended up, asking to be released. So like it's played about as good as I think it possibly could, Chad. And, a long way to go. And, as I just mentioned, you never know what's going to happen between now and then, and things change and guys get injured and bad stuff happens. And sometimes things just don't play out the way that you thought they were going to. But like, if you look at the situation and the way it's lined up, I think that there's a whole lot of reason to believe that there's a real path to success with this team, with this roster, if things are able to line in the right way with Dame back on this team.
All right, one final question. What was your reaction to the comments from Commissioner Silver when Sean Highkin asked him about, whether or not it was a priority to keep the Trailblazers in Portland?
The commissioner works for the NBA. He works for the ownership. And I don't think that Adam Silver is going to say anything that is going to hurt the chances of the team getting the most it possibly can get in terms of a new ownership group. So, I know sometimes people get a little nervous when things get said, and like, I understand that, but also like, I don't think Adam Silver said anything that people surveying the situation couldn't have already told you. And that's not to say, I don't think anyone thinks the team's moving. I certainly don't. But like, we do live in a world, guys. And like, I think we have to understand that things are going to play out the way they're going to play out. And I'm very optimistic. And I know the team is optimistic, but like Adam Silver has to do what a commissioner does, which is be impartial and to kind of talk about a situation in kind of the terms of the realities of purchasing a sports franchise in 2025. So like, I don't think no one should feel any different today than they felt before Adam Silver said that. But like, I also understand people, I also get just being concerned because again, like things happen and you don't ever want to say like, well, it's not going to, it's for certainly not going to happen because you just can't speak in certainties like that. I guess that's my main argument is you can't speak in certainties. So like for him to just kind of be honest about what the situation is with the market in Portland, I think anyone who's really been kind of paying attention to the situation already knew those things that he was talking about.
Yeah. All right. Casey Holdaw, Trailblazers insider and reporter here on the Rip City Drive. He's been doing a great job of covering Summer League. Casey, I appreciate you making time for me today. This is great news, and I look forward to talking with you soon, buddy.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's a very good day. It's awesome stuff. I'm super happy for everyone, and it's always great to talk to you, Chad. There's never a good reason to not catch up with you, Chad.
I appreciate it, buddy. There you go, Casey Holdaw. As he put it, it's a great day to be a Blazer, in the words of Brian Wheeler. All right, we'll come back. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your calls. Sean Highkin from Rose Garden Report going to join. We'll get his thoughts on the news. Dame's coming back, 3-year deal with the Blazers Unreal. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, what a wild day here in Rip City. Damian Lillard is back with the Trailblazers. 3 years and $42 million. And we're bringing on our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, Sean Highkin, who is getting ready to take in the WNBA All-Star Weekend, and he joins the show right now. Hey, Sean, were you surprised at the news today? What was your reaction when you found out that Dame was coming back home?
I wasn't surprised that he's coming back. I kind of had known that it was at least something that was being talked about and wasn't totally off the table as far as like something he would be interested in and something the organization would be open to. So I knew that at least there was a chance. I knew that it wasn't a 0% chance that it was going to happen. So I wasn't surprised that he ended up signing. I was kind of stunned by the dollar amount, though. Like, the deal is for 3 years and $42 million, and I don't know. It just seems like a lot of money for – my first blush was like it seems like it's a lot of money for somebody who's 35 and coming off of a torn Achilles and probably isn't going to play the first year of it. But I guess I guess that's just kind of the deal that they made. But, yeah, as far as the actual news of him coming back, we all kind of knew that was going to happen at some point before his career was over. He said that in the goodbye letter that he wrote that he posted online the day that he was traded to the Bucks 2 years ago. So we knew it was going to happen at some point, and after he got waived by the Bucks, it seemed like it was a possibility. But just, yeah, the actual contract they gave him is not something I expected.
Yeah, I was surprised by the dollar amount myself. What I'm trying to figure out, like, I understand why Dame wants to come back. He loves Portland, but most importantly, he's going to have a chance to be here with family and his kids, which is very important to him. Can you give me an idea of why this makes sense from Chauncey Billups and Joe Cronin's perspective? Like, some of the motivations for why you'd want to get this deal done.
Well, as we all know, Dame is just somebody that you like having around, as in terms of, the stuff he does off the court. I'm very curious, like, what this ends up looking like long-term from a rotational standpoint. I'm expecting that Dame isn't going to play this year because he's going to be rehabbing the torn Achilles. So this is a move that they made for the next 2 years after this one, at least from my understanding, is that, once he's back from the injury, then maybe by then, with the other moves that they've made, they'll be able to, be closer to kind of taking the leap to being real contenders. And then, they'll have Dame kind of along for the ride, and he'll get to have his, storybook ending in Portland. That to me would be the appeal of it from the Blazers standpoint. Again, the money is something I'm still wrapping my head around a little bit.
We're talking with Sean Highkin. He's our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report. From a leadership standpoint, I know sometimes it gets overblown, but you and I were talking about this throughout the course of last year where they didn't really have a voice in that locker room, where some of the guys were more quiet leaders. They would set an example in the way they went about their business. But now, Drew Holiday comes in, well-respected around the league, and now you got Dame, who is a strong voice and a good leader. It should be a good mix for the young guys on the roster. How do you see that fit?
Oh, I mean, from a leadership standpoint, that one of the reasons I think they really wanted to bring Drew in, and obviously they made that deal well before they knew that Dame was going to be available, because I don't think anybody expected the Bucks to waive and stretch his contract with how much money was left on it. So they made that deal to bring in Holiday because they felt like in the 2 years since they traded Dame, that type of, guy that's clearly the veteran voice in the locker room that everybody looks to, as good of guys as Anthony Simons and Jeremy Grant are, they're not that kind of vocal personality that everybody gravitates towards. And Drew Holiday is one of the few guys in the league that is kind of on Dame's level as far as his reputation from that front. Like, we all kind of know the person he is, the leader he is, and he's just a winning player that you trade for him when you're trying to win more games than you won the last year, and bring some professionalism to your locker room. So now you've got him, and you've got Dame, who obviously is beloved in the entire organization, and his reputation from a leadership standpoint and all the interpersonal and off-court stuff kind of speaks for itself. So now you have both of them, and I'm curious, obviously I would imagine, like, in terms of who's the number one guy that, like, everybody gravitates to, I think just by default it's going to be Dame because it's him in Portland and Drew, like, just got here. But Drew is also the one that's actually going to be playing at least this year, because I think Dame is probably not going to play at all this year. So that's going to be just another dynamic to kind of add to this season that's already shaping up to be, in my opinion, maybe the most interesting season since I started covering the league.
From the fans that I'm hearing from, the vast majority love the move. Obviously, you communicate and hear from a lot of Blazer fans as well. What type of feedback have you been getting on the move?
Oh, people are over the moon about it. Like everybody, a lot of people were really, even though, they're on paper, there were all the reasons why 2 years ago when Dame requested the trade, it was probably time to move on given where the roster was and, how much money he was making and kind of what his goals were for his career versus what the organization's goals may have been for the next few years. But again, when he wrote that goodbye letter that he posted online after the trade to the Bucks happened 2 years ago, he had a line at the end where he said, "I hope that one day I'll wear a Trailblazers uniform again." And every single, month, I haven't had a week go by where I haven't seen a tweet from a fan or heard from somebody in my life that says, "Hey, Dame did say he wants to come home at some point. Maybe he comes home soon." So I think everybody kind of knew that it was going to happen at some point. But, given what the circumstances are, it's happening a lot sooner than expected. And I think a lot of fans are pretty excited about it.
All right. So now that this is done, what are you looking for next?
Well, they're going to have, I would imagine that once this is official, they're going to have a press conference to announce it. And, I'm very curious to ask both Dame and Joe Cronin, who I assume will talk when this becomes official, what the plan is as far as, his recovery. If I were me making the deal, I would give, if he wants this 3-year deal, fine, but I would just tell him up front, you are not playing year one. It's not even on the table. You're just going to rehab. It's not even a discussion that you could possibly play. So I'm curious if that's where the organization's head is at, if that's something Dame is okay with, if he understands the deal there. So that's something, from how this is going to go that I'm curious about in the short term. So I would imagine this is probably, unless they find a trade for Jeremy Grant, which I don't know if they'll be able to because that contract is, kind of tough and it's tough to move those big salaries. But unless they're able to get something done there, I kind of feel like this is it as far as the off season, really, unless something like unexpected falls into their lap, because the thing that they needed to do still after the move that they have made was get up to 14 players on the roster so that their roster would be CBA legal. Now you're signing Dame as a free agent. That's 14 now. So I think the team they have right now is probably, unless they can find something with Grant, this is probably what the roster is going to look like come training camp.
What's the big question you would like to ask Joe Cronin at the press conference when they announce Dame's coming back?
How much of this was you and how much of this was the business side of the organization? That would be kind of, obviously, like, Joe, he has, there's a lot of stuff that he's been able to do with the roster, and the roster I think is in a pretty good place. But we all know that, A, the franchise is for sale right now, and B, like, if you want to do something from a business side to get people excited about the upcoming season, more so than I think they even already are, you bring Dame home. Like, I think that's like a, 100% approval rating, win the press conference type of move. I'm just really curious how it works out from a basketball standpoint once he is able to play and how much he's got left.
Yeah, me too. I want to know how much he's got left. I'm going to be very curious when he finally makes a return coming off of the Achilles injury, which is a tough one to come back from. One final question for you. Do you have any idea of how Joe and Dame were able to kind of mend the fence?
I haven't. I've asked a couple of people. I haven't really gotten much back on that yet. I'm sure we'll hear about that at some point in the next couple of weeks once they talk. I'm sure that's going to be something they'll want to talk about. That's going to be something we're going to be asking them about. But if you do remember this past season when the Bucks came back to Portland, Dame went over and shook Joe's hand on the baseline right before the opening tip, and that was a video that was shown on, like, that camera angle was shown on was it TNT? It was whatever national network that game was on. It was shown on the broadcast. Clip went viral. Generally, and I mean, look, the relationship between the two of them was not great for a while after the trade, just because of the way that whole summer was handled, where Dame's people went very, very hard publicly about wanting to only go to Miami and really doing whatever they could to submarine the Blazers' leverage for having trade talks with other teams. And then the Blazers didn't, cut them out of the trade talks and didn't, and traded him somewhere else. So there were certainly some hard feelings on both sides for a while. And I think both sides, if they could go back, probably would have handled some things differently. In fact, I know that for a fact. They both I've heard from, people on both sides that they both feel like maybe there were things they regret or things that they would do differently. But I think in time, they both kind of mutually got over it and kind of understood where the other side was coming from. And just, it makes more sense to move forward together than it does to kind of hold on to those things forever. So that seems like that's where things are at right now.
All right, so I want to make sure I get this straight. So Portland traded Lillard to the Bucks. They got Holiday, Tamani Kamara, and assets in 2023, and then sent Holiday to the Celtics. Robert Williams III and Malcolm Brogdon came back in assets, one which led to Avdia. And now the Blazers have Lillard and Holiday. They also have Avdia, Williams, Kamara, and a 2029 first-rounder and 2 Bucks pick swaps. That's not bad.
It's not bad at all. I mean, you have to add in also that DeAndre Ayton was a part of that deal, and they saw at the time they thought there was a chance he could be their long-term starting center. It obviously didn't end up going that way, and they bought him out. But then, the amount of money that he gave back in the buyout, if you want to really bring it full circle, he gave back $10 million in the buyout that he agreed to right before the start of free agency, and that amount of money that he gave back led to them having the ability to use the full mid-level without going into the luxury tax, which is what they used to sign Dame. So if you really want to bring it full circle, that even the buyout of Ayton was what cleared the way for this to happen, and he was part of that trade too.
Well, Sean, I think Joe, he might want to run for mayor right now, and he could get a key to the city, man. He would win in a landslide after today.
Well, what's he going to do about the arena thing that Silver talked about? That's going to be the thing that I think that if he wants to get involved in local government, and I think that would be kind of the Blazers thing he would probably want to be asked about, and I don't know if that's really his jurisdiction.
All right, Sean. Hey, enjoy the All-Star festivities with the WNBA. You got the three-point shooting contest coming up tomorrow, which will feature Sabrina and Caitlin. Have fun, and thanks for making time to hop on.
Caitlin's not playing. I don't know if you saw that, or she's not doing it.
She's not doing the three-point shooting contest?
No, she hurt her groin the other day. She re-injured the groin that she missed a couple of weeks with. So she's not going to be doing any of the All-Star stuff. They just announced that today.
That's bad news, Sean. That's bad news. I was looking forward to seeing her and Sabrina go head-to-head.
Well, I mean, injuries are a problem. That it happens.
Yes, it does. Well, Sean, I don't want you to get any injuries on the trip, so be safe and have good travels coming back, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you, Chad.
There you go. Sean Hiken, Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive. Telephone number 503-248-0620. Let's go out to George. He's in Portland. George, welcome to the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Hey, with regard to the commissioner's comment on the Portland Stadium, I don't see him saying to the New York Knicks, your building was built in 1964, you need to build a new building or get out of the league. I don't think he's making that a requirement for New York. I don't think that should be a requirement for Portland. If the building needs refurbishing, that's fine, but I don't think we necessarily need a new building. And with regards to Damon's contract, 42 years sounds a lot of money if that was for 1 year nowadays. But spread over 3 years, that's only $14 million a year. It's not that much for a basketball player.
Yeah, especially one of Dame's stature. I appreciate the phone call, George. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, Dame's going to be fine money-wise because he's getting paid out by the Bucks. The Blazers locked him up for 3 years, and he's able to come back to Portland. It's a win. How's it all going to play out after this upcoming season when Dame makes a return to the floor? I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Today's really a celebration about one of our own coming back home. That's what it's all about. All right, telephone number 503-248-0620. You can pull up the show on the free iHeartRadio app and be able to podcast and listen to the show there. And, of course, you can join us on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and pull up Rip City Radio 620, and we stream all of our local live shows. But a big thanks to Chris Burkhart, Sean Hiken, and Casey Holdahl, all for joining the program today and be able to share their thoughts. But I really want to hear from you. I want to hear your take on Dame coming back home. Do you like the move? Is it a no-brainer in your mind? Do you wish that they would have used that money elsewhere? I mean, Dame's such a special player in history here in Portland that the majority of people I'm hearing from love the maneuver because our guy's coming back home. And for him personally, I know this to be fact, it means a lot to him because he hated being on the other side of the country away from his kids where he couldn't be dad at all times. It was really hard on him. And, Dame's one of those guys where he's always made sure that everyone knows how much he loves it here. He's embraced it as his own. We took him in, and it's cool because you'll see him around town. He'll be bumping around out in Northeast Portland. Always willing to talk to people. Like, this is his home, and he has a chance to come back home. Now, it's going to be cool. I think someone mentioned this. Can you imagine the ovation that Dame will get when he finally makes a return to the floor to play? The fans are going to go crazy. They'll go bananas. But I do think the leadership is going to be good. Dame has been very helpful with other young guards, Anthony Simons being one. I think it's going to be good to have Dame around guys like, Scoot, Shaden, some of the young guys on the team who can look to him for direction. And Dame's one of those guys like Kobe and some of the other greats who are willing to share some of their secrets. And with Dame, he's, a master when it comes to creating space, getting a shot off, angles. He can help guys. And he does bring a voice to the locker room. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'd love to hear from you. What's your take on Dame coming back home? It was announced today, just before 3 o'clock, from Shams, from Chris Haynes, that he had agreed to a 3-year deal to be a Trailblazer once again. It's pretty sweet. You got the Rip City Drive. Chad doing with you. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. You got your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. Yeah, this is one of those days where everything's going to be a big blur. I still can't believe the news that Damian Lillard's coming back to Portland, and I think it's pretty awesome. I'm a big fan of Dame. He's always been really good to me. I love watching him play basketball, but he is one of the all-time greats within the franchise. And I don't want to argue who the greatest player of all time is in Trailblazers franchise history. It's one of three. It's Bill Walton, it's Clyde, or it's Dame. Pick whoever you want, but Dame's right there. And he's a franchise cornerstone, and he means a lot to Portland. And now he's going to be back in a Trailblazer uniform. And most importantly, and I like what Sean said, was like, hey, Dame, you're not coming back this year. You're going to take the whole year. You're going to rehab and get your body right. And then we'll bring you back the following season when you're fully 100% coming off the Achilles tear. They don't need to rush that. Take your time. Let him get back to 100%, and then you can move forward and continue to play basketball. All right, telephone number is 503-248-0620. I'd love to get your reaction on the news that Dame is returning to Portland. What do you think about the move? What was your reaction when you got the news? I just sat in silence for a moment trying to absorb it because I was not expecting that news to drop today. I thought he might make a return to Portland, but I did not think it would be right now. And according to Shams, he had multiple offers from teams around the league, many of those contenders. And he chose Portland, where he wants to be and has said repeatedly, he loves Portland. It's hard for people outside of this area to understand why a star player would love Portland, but he does. Let's go to David in Salem. David, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. Your reaction to the news that Dame's coming back home.
Well, I want to start out by saying I am a Damian Lillard fan, and I was sad when he left to go to Milwaukee. I'm a little concerned about his age and the injury, torn Achilles. Also, you know, he's, 35 now? We brought in Drew Holiday. He's 35. And I thought we were kind of on a rebuild. And what is that going to do to Scoot Henderson or Shaden Sharp and some of these other players whose contracts are going to come up within the next year or two? Are they going to go in the luxury tax, or are they going to have to trade away their youth? That concerns me, but that's a legitimate concern. Have you thought about it, Chad?
Yeah, I have. And David, to be honest with you, I'm not going to worry too much about how it's going to fit basketball-wise because he's not going to play next year. So they have an entire year to figure out, you know, where he's going to be. It will give them another year to be able to evaluate and see where Scoot and Shaden are at. And then after that, you can kind of see where Dame fits into the mix in terms of rotation, minutes, and everything else. So, but right now, they don't have to worry about it.
Some offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Let's see, the way if you want to know how I see it, the perfect fit would be this, where you go into this year and both Scoot and Shaden emerge as the no-question starters at guard. And they continue to make strides and improve to where there's no doubt that they're the two guys. And then you have Dame in the mix where he can come off the bench and you'd be able to have him in many different situations playing a decent number of minutes, providing that offense and lethal shooting. And I think in that type of situation, it would work really well. And you'd have a different combination of guys you could put on the floor. But more importantly, when Dame's on the floor now, you've got long, athletic guys who can help protect him defensively because it's a much more defensive-minded club than it was in the past. But I guess the way I see it is Scoot and Shaden emerge to where they are the unquestioned starters, and then Dame's able to fit in behind them as a sharpshooter coming off the bench. That's kind of what I'm envisioning in my mind.
I hope that's the case because obviously, you know, his shooting and the ability to shoot the three from half court, it's just one of the most amazing things I've ever watched. And when he was on, it was just amazing. And, you know, I wonder how the team's going to play because a lot of his pick and roll stuff with a younger team, how that's going to work with Donnie Avia and Tamati Kamara, these gazelles who can run up and down the court, how that's going to be working to the chemistry of the team going forward. That's going to be fascinating to watch because you have such young guys there with incredible potential to move up and down the court before the defense sets up against them. If Lillard and Drew Holiday can keep up with that pace, that's what I wonder about. But that's just because I admire both those senior players, and I wanted the chemistry to work out and everything like that. And hopefully, like you said, with the younger guys starting with Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp potentially starting as guard and shooting guard, maybe it'll work out with those guys coming off the bench, or one of them being just the shooting guard, as opposed to being the actual point guard. Let Scoot be the point guard.
Yeah, no question. That's kind of what I'm seeing. They got plenty of time to figure out how that's going to fit rotation-wise. 503-248-0620. Let's go to Brian in downtown. Brian, welcome to the Rip City Drive. Your reaction to Dame coming back home?
Hey, Chad, I'm pumped, man. I was literally working for the city this morning, talking to my planner, bro, and I said perfect scenario with Dame, would be he's out this year, and then we sign him on the cheap the following year for him to be coming off the bench as the vet. Let us make a deep run in the playoffs this year and surprise everybody. And then we scoop him up. And then, sure enough, like 3 hours later, dude showed me his phone. And there it was from Shams, And I can't be more happy about it. And so it's great, man. It's just great. I hope he comes humble. I hope he heals up. You just put it perfectly a second ago, that last caller. Jason Quick said the same thing a couple of years ago when everything went down and Dame got traded. He comes back as the vet after chasing a ring and helps us get over the hump with these young kids growing up. And yeah, man, I'm so stoked. Hey, I also want to say big shout out to y'all when y'all took a chance on Mike Lynch. I love Mike Lynch. I'm sad what's going on with Mike Lynch. I hope he's doing okay. And hey, it's a great day to be Blazer, baby.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I appreciate the words on Mike Lynch, former Trailblazer radio host who was diagnosed with ALS. Just awful. I mean, my grandfather passed away from ALS, and so that's why we've been making efforts to raise money for ALS Northwest to be able to support families like that of Mike Lynch. 503-248-0620. Let's go to Brian in Hillsborough. Brian, welcome to the Rip City Drive. Your reaction to Dame coming back.
Well, thanks, Chad. It's a great day to be a Blazer fan. Yeah, I was surprised. I was driving around, and all of a sudden I heard them talking that Lillard just signed a $42 million, something with the Blazers. I was like, what? So I tuned in, and, look, I'm a long-time Blazer fan. I was in 8th grade when Bill Walton and Lucas and the boys won the championship, went down 0-2 to Philly, and then started playing, and they won the next 4. Lillard he's Blazers through and through. And you could tell when he was in Milwaukee. He played, did what he did, but you could just tell that he wasn't happy. And I think a lot of people knew that he had a great thing going out here. Even if the Blazers didn't win, even if they were a rebuild, this was his team. This was his history here, and now to come back and to be able to help the Blazers, the team that wants to see win a championship. And I know at core level, he believes that. This team that they've put together is, quite frankly, it's an amazing team. And to have Lillard here and Holiday and this kid Hansen, the Blazers are good. And, it's just a good day to be a Blazer fan. I bought season tickets this year.
Yes.
And
good timing.
I'm pumped up for that. Yeah, good timing. Yeah. So anyway, thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. I listen to your talk show all the time.
Oh, I appreciate it, Brian. That means a lot to me. Thank you. I forgot about young Hansen and all of this. The Blazers are going to be back in action here in a few minutes, taking on the Rockets down in Summer League action. I'll play some of that next hour. I got some clips of Tim Legler, who is a terrific basketball analyst, sharing some of his thoughts on Hansen because he's had a chance to call a couple of his games down there in Vegas. And I think you'll enjoy that. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's go out to Charlie in Vancouver. Charlie, what's up, my friend? Fire away. Your take on Dame coming back home.
Chad, I know you're going to kill me on this, but you know how I feel. I think it's taken a huge step backwards. I just can't see Dame's mentality going from this is what makes him so great is he had such a tremendous ego. I just don't see him coming off the bench as a happy guy. Worrying about Dame being happy, I think, is the last thing we need. I love the way we moved the ball the last year, and instead I'm going to see dribble. if he comes off and sends off screens and scores buckets, I'm happy. Anything else? Wow, what a step backward. But I love me our first-round draft pick. I think that's huge.
Oh, yeah. Young Hanson's been a blast to watch, my friend. There's Charlie in Vancouver. Yeah, I would say the minutes, the rotation, how they see all that playing out with Dame once he returns to the floor. I'm very curious about that. But players have shown that they can reinvent themselves. And my guess is Dame's probably got a good understanding that he's not going to be the same player he once was coming off the injury. So he's going to have to adapt. And what I want to know is what were the conversations between he, Joe, Cronin, and Chauncey Billups in regard to that when he is finally back on the floor. All right, so I've got some thoughts from Tim Legler on young Hanson. I'll get to that. Your phone calls, 503-248-0620. I want to hear from you. So if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to your calls next. Damian Lillard's coming back home, and I want your reaction to the news today. 3-year deal worth $42 million. He'll use the upcoming season, according to Shams, to rehab the torn Achilles. But our guy's coming back, and he has a chance to be back with the franchise he loves, the town that he's a part of, and he can be with family and, of course, his children, which is awesome. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, 5 o'clock, the big news today. According to Chris Haynes and Shams, Damian Lillard has agreed to a 3-year deal worth $42 million to return back home to the Portland Trail Blazers. According to Shams, Dame will use the upcoming season to rehab his torn Achilles, but the return home was a focus on being closer to his family and kids. We got more on Dame coming up on the Rip City Drive. I want your reaction to the news, 503-248-0620. The Trailblazers will continue their Summer League play coming up in a couple of minutes. They're going to meet the Rockets in Vegas. You can watch it on KUNP and Blazers Vision. More of the Rip City Drive coming at you right now. All right, Tony just reached out. Tony in Boring and says, be sure to give Michael some love on the song choices today. They've been excellent. Nice work, Shacker. Shacker is really skilled at taking a theme for the show and then picking out song choices to make sure that it matches the theme. And today, everything is about coming back home, being together again, reunited, because Damian Lillard is once again a Portland Trailblazer. And in the words of the great Brian Wheeler, it is a great day to be a Trailblazer. All right, Curtin Hillsborough, who is a good friend and someone I respect, he says Joe Cronin has to be feeling like Kevin Costner in draft day right now. It's a new take on tanking. And he goes on to say, people focused on the money baffles me. Portland signed him to an extension through the exact same time frame where that 2027 year would have cost him $60 million. Now you have the same guy who only counts at $14 million against the cap. This is a diabolical management. He would still be the old same exact injuries could have happened, but now he costs $45 million less, so you can put parts around him and be able to move on. And that's really what it's all about for me, is that they get him back on the cheap. You know, what, $14 million a year? And now you've got pieces around him to be able to assist. You know, long, lengthy defensive type players, which is going to be helpful. You know, I think Dame's role with the team when he finally comes back will be different. What you want to see this year is just continued development. You know, they talk about the internal development. You want to see Scoot and Shaden emerge and really lock down the starting positions at guard. Obviously, you got Tamani Kamara and Denny Avdia, who are legit. And you want to see young Hansen, you know, show signs of progress in his first year. But when Dame comes back, they'll find a role for him. And I think Dame's smart enough, wise enough, and understands ball enough to where he can adjust his role to fit what the team needs best. He's not going to be the same Dame that we're used to seeing here in Portland, where he's looking to take everything over and play, you know, 38 to 40 minutes a night. That's not going to be the Dame that we're going to see. It's going to be a different role. But there have been guys who have adjusted their role with time and have become incredibly effective. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Let's go out to Eddie in Vancouver. My man, Eddie. Eddie, what's up, buddy? What's your reaction to the news that Dame's coming back?
Man, Chad and Shacker, man, we are on the same spirit. Dude, I've been rolling with you, know, from, man, when it was you and Travis. Watched you on Channel 4 on Comcast, right? So back then on Comcast, those days, bro, remember when it was Harkless and Aminu out there on the wing? Remember those days? How just, oh my gosh, how terrible that was. And when we were watching this team, I know when I was watching this team the second half, I was like, man, Damian was on this team. So, you know, that's where I'm at with this, you know, and I'm just so full of joy. And never really call in. I listen to the show every day. I never call in because I'm always working. I'm at work, and I lose reception sometimes in parts of the building. But you know, only the times I called in when Lillard left. That Saturday when you guys came in to work. That Saturday, you know, I called in when he finally left and got traded. But you're right. Shacker's right on cue with the music, Chad. And you know, I just want to say, you know, I want to hear some Ice Cube. Today was a good day. You know, and then something else, Chad, too, before I go, man. That that Yacht Rock documentary. I want to know what your take is on that too. Maybe we can talk about that tomorrow. You know what I mean? If you watch that, and I'd like to hear what you got to say about that, man. But anyway, today is a good day to be a Blazer. And I used to wait on Brian Wheel myself, and I missed that guy, man. And it's a good day to be a Blazer, man. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it. There's Eddie in Vancouver. And, of course, you got my cell number now, Eddie. You can reach out to me whenever you want. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Yeah, it is a great day to be a Trailblazer. I mean, it's full circle now. He's back. I can't believe it. Damian freaking Lillard is a Trailblazer again. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Dame's cool, man. He's a cool cat. I've covered a lot of athletes during my time in radio, but he's always been great. He's always been good to me, but he's always been great with the media, with fans. He's been a good teammate and obviously a great player. And he's a family guy. He wants to be close to family. And he's got a lot of family that lives out here. And I know one of his family members that I see all the time. And he told me a week ago that he thought Dame, and he was insistent. He's like, Dame's coming back to Portland, man. I was like, yeah, he might, but I don't think it's going to happen right now. He's like, no, I think he's coming back to Portland. I think he was trying to tell me, like, look, it's going to happen. So it did. And we got the news today. So, again, it's going to be a delayed reaction because we have to wait. He's going to rehab this year. And I think that rehab process will be good for him because, great players, like when you go through that whole process of rehab, where you got to spend a lot of difficult hours where you're by yourself or with your trainer and you've got to grind physically to get back to where you want to be. I just wanted Dame to approach that the way I would expect him to, with everything he's got, with the same passion and intensity that he's approached everything else in his career, because I know he's going to feel so much better when he gets on the other end of it. But now, when he makes the return to the floor there at Moda Center, can you imagine the response? It's not too often you get a chance to say hello again after someone is traded. And props to Joe Cronin and Chauncey Billups for being able to work through the difficulties of that relationship. I mean, it was 2 years ago, basically almost to the day. It was July 2 years ago where Dame was traded. And now he's back. Wild. Absolutely wild. I'm not worried right now about how he's going to fit in, what the rotation is going to look like, because they've got a full year to be able to prepare for that. Right now, Dame needs to focus on rehab. We can celebrate the fact that Dame's coming back home. And then once the season begins, we continue to focus on defense and internal development with the young players. And I continue to go back to the same thing. For me, this whole rebuild and turnaround and the direction the franchise is headed, the development of Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp is critical. If those two guys become what we all think they can become, then everything's going to become real easy, period. That's really what it's all about. Those two guys becoming what we think they can become is where it's all at. And if those two guys emerge and lock down the starting guard spot where there's no question who the two guys are going to be moving forward, it's going to be great. And now we got leadership. Dan will bring that to the locker room, and as will Drew Holiday. So you've got a nice mix of veteran leadership, with the young guys who are on the roster. So it's pretty cool. But for Dame, this is special because he's always embraced this area. And I think Rip City as a whole took him in as one of their own when he was drafted. But Dame is one of those rare guys who is a star athlete who never wanted to leave. He wanted to be here in town. He loved Portland. He loved the area. He brought his family up here. He was raising his children here. Like, this is home for Dame. And he's out bumping around, and he's a part of the community, which is cool. I mean, if you're out walking around Northeast Portland, you might run into Dame at a restaurant. And unlike so many stars that say one thing but really mean another, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, Dame's always loved it here. And he's tried to tell everyone that. And I think the reason why he ended up requesting a trade, I think, was the pressure he was getting from all the people around him in his inner circle. I don't think Dame ever really wanted to leave because he loves it here. And I think that's why the connection between community and Dame is so strong. Because here in Portland, it is. We love people who embrace our town. our city, our area. We love our own. And Dame was adopted, and we took him in. And he's a very loyal guy. But Blazer fans, they love that type of loyalty. And think about that. He could have gone to multiple teams. He had multiple offers, many of those which were contenders, but he chose to come back home. That's cool. That's a great story. And I don't know what it's going to mean basketball-wise when he finally hits the floor again, but I do know one thing. I don't expect him to be the same player in terms of explosion, attacking the rim, but his shooting ability and that deep range dead eye that he's got, that's not going to leave him. I mean, those skills are going to be there forever. And so this new role, once he adapts and we get a chance to see what it looks like, I'm excited to see what he's able to do with his body, with his game, and the type of impact he can make. But he's also been very willing over the course of time to share, different ideas, strategy, footwork, maneuvers with other young players, including Anthony Simons, who thanks Dame on a regular basis for the way that he took him under his wing. And you remember, it goes back to the whole situation with he and LaMarcus Aldridge. When Dame first arrived, it was LaMarcus Aldridge. It was his team. And I think Dame was hoping at that time that LaMarcus would kind of take him under his wing and kind of show him the ropes. But that relationship never really truly developed. And then LaMarcus left via free agency. So I think Dame took that experience and said, you know what, I don't want that to happen with any of my future teammates. And so he took a different approach where he wanted to kind of lend a hand and be a different type of leader and assist some of the young guys who were, coming up. I think one of my favorite Dame moments was right after that Game 7 victory in Denver back in 2019 in the Western Conference semifinals. You remember Dame when he was walking through the tunnel back to the locker room, and he was kind of hopping or skipping, and he had the smile, and he just that bewilderment that they were going to the Western Conference Finals, and you could see the sheer pleasure on his face. Like when I saw that, it made me so happy because you knew what it meant to him to finally get over the hump and get to the Western Conference Finals and to do it in a Trailblazer uniform. That was awesome. It's memories like that. The most iconic moment in my mind was the .9 shot against the Rockets where they won the playoff series. And then the crowd just stood in ovation for minutes. And people didn't know what to do with themselves for what they had just seen. It was wild. And then after several minutes, he comes back out on the floor and grabs the PA mic from Mark Mason and yells, "Rip City!" It's one of the most badass moments I've ever witnessed with my own eyes. It's like, wait, is that Dame? He's going to yell into the microphone? And he yells, "Rip City." It's like, are you kidding me? Unbelievable. All right, we'll keep things rolling. I want to hear from you, 503-248-0620. Dame is coming back, signs a deal with the Blazers. Your reaction to the news when you heard it. 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.
Batum throws to Lillard. A three for the game. Bang!
Whoa! That boy is special.
You've got to pinch me. I must be dreaming.
I'll pinch you.
Now, this reminds me of my Uncle Gordon. He lives in Colorado Springs with my Aunt Elaine. And he and my dad are very good friends. But I love Uncle Gordon. He's awesome. But he's got an old jukebox downstairs in the TV room. They live in a beautiful home up there in Colorado Springs. But the jukebox is awesome because it plays old 45s. And he knows I love it. So when I go over there, he turns it on so I can, play music. But he's got a lot of the old school Elvis 45s. He's a huge Elvis fan. And he actually saw with my aunt Elvis in concert. I can't remember where. Maybe it was in Hawaii. But they saw him and said it was amazing. All right, 503-248-0620. If you want to react to Damian Lillard making his return to Portland, the telephone number here where you can call is 503-248-0620. We've had a number of terrific phone calls today. So if you would like to react, I'd love to hear from you. I'm happy he's back. I think it's pretty freaking awesome, to be honest with you. He is a all-timer. He loves the area. He's been embraced by Rip City and the vast majority of Trailblazer fans I have heard from this afternoon. Since it went down, the news broke, everyone's thrilled. I think Joe Cronin could win a bid for mayor right now. They probably give him a key to the city, but this is a wildly popular move because Dame is beloved, and rightfully so. He's a badass, a straight badass. So it's great to have him back. And he wants to be here. He chose to come back to Portland, and he had other options. These talking heads around the country, they just don't get it. I think someone mentioned earlier, how long until the talking heads start talking once again about how Dame's got to force his way out of Portland? But they just don't understand. When Dame talks about his love of Portland and the Trailblazers and what it means for him to be here, no one understands it because the majority of stars who talk like that, they say it, but they don't really mean it. And then they jump ship and go elsewhere. But for Dame, he's always meant it. He loves it here. And he's a very loyal guy. And I remember the piece. I can't remember, was it The Athletic? But it goes back to Dame's younger days. He grew up in Oakland. And the story, it's been a while since I've read it, so it's a little bit fuzzy in my mind. But, basically, he had a group of people, family members and friends that he was close with. And I think he used to play basketball on a telephone pole that had like a milk crate on it. He would shoot hoops that way. He also had a basketball hoop that was nailed to a tree, I think, in the backyard on the porch at his grandmother's house. But that's where he'd play hoop. But he never forgot the people in his life from a young age who were there for him to help make a difference. And then Weber State, offered him a full scholarship. They showed faith in him, and he committed and played 4 years at Weber State. And then the Trailblazers put faith in Dame and drafted him with their first-round pick. And he never forgets those who are loyal. And he's a unique individual. 503-248-0620. Let's go up to Longview. Don's up there. Don, appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's your take on Dame making his return to Portland?
Oh, I kind of think it's a publicity stunt for Paul Allen's sister because, he was a good player for them, made a lot of money. So I would call it like you owning a racehorse, and it made you a bunch of money, and then you got rid of him, and then he went lame, and you felt sorry for him, so you brought him back, and then he's going to sit out for a year, and those are. When his injury is so hard to recover.
Yeah, there's no question. The Achilles injury over the years has been kind of a death nail to NBA players. Fortunately, the technology and the procedure, the rehab, it's all gotten better, but it's a tough injury to come back from. But the advantages for Dame compared to a player like Dominique Wilkins or someone who relies more on, sheer athleticism, Dame's, key is his ability to shoot and getting separation, getting open, being able to find his shot. I think he's still going to have that. And regardless of what the reasons are, obviously he can still help them basketball-wise. But, yeah, from a business standpoint, it's a great move. It's a PR win. There's no question about it. When they traded Dame, that was not a popular maneuver. But now they bring him back, and, yeah, it's a win for sure. There's no question about it. 503-248-0620. All right, a couple things I want you to hear as we turn away from Dame for just a moment. Tim Legler, who has been calling Summer League games, he's one of the fine analysts in the NBA. He's a former player. He was a sharpshooter himself. I have a lot of respect for Legler, but he had a chance to share his thoughts on what he's seen from young Hansen down at Summer League. He had a chance to call a couple of his games, and here's Legler talking about his skill set. I wanted to play this because I think it would be nice for you to hear from an NBA expert, former player, sharing his thoughts on what he sees from Hansen. And, because we're all excited about what we've seen. He's been one of the big stories, he and Cooper Flagg. But Tim Legler impressed with the skill set.
First of all, he's an elite passer. I mean, he absolutely understands where everybody is on the floor. He's very comfortable directing traffic, even though we were told there's somewhat of a language barrier still with him. I saw the guy catching the ball on these trails, and he immediately catch it at the top of the key as a trailer and start pointing directions and telling guys to cut and move and waving guys through and then running over. It was almost like he was coaching the team on the floor. Yeah. Now imagine how impressive that is. I believe he's 20 years old. 20 years old, Chinese player coming over here, his first taste of what this looks like, and he was clearly the leader of this team. And it was like not even a question, the very first trip up the floor. So that's the first thing that jumps out. The guy's knowledge of the game, his passing ability, and just his spatial awareness of where everybody is was unbelievably impressive.
All right, love to hear that. Talking about his basketball IQ. Obviously, he noticed what Joe Cronin and Mike Schmitz have talked about. His passing ability is elite. Legler continued and shared more observations on what he's seen from Hansen.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, Adam. As you know, I mean, there's a lot of guys in Vegas that are second-year players as well, right? Yeah. And there's even guys that are more than that because whatever reason they've been bouncing around. There's 27, 28-year-olds in Vegas as well. But there's a lot of second-round players that were first-round picks last year or second-round picks last year. And a lot of those guys are bigs. And I'm telling you, Jan did that, what we're talking about, on a higher level than any of those guys that I saw. Yeah. So for me, to have the confidence to be able to do that, right? Because you're that sure that you know what's going on better maybe than other people. So you're going to point, direct, lead, and they encouraged him to do it. I was just impressed by that. The other thing that stood out to me right off the bat, his very first trip up the floor, he takes the contact to you. And that is really unique for a young, foreign-born big. Wing as well. But bigs typically, they're a little bit more passive and timid. And sometimes, guys that played a year of college ball or they've been in the league for a year, you think you can maybe bully that guy a little bit, right? Get physical with him. Hit him in the chest when he's running down the floor and see how he reacts. That's typical to test guys that are coming into the league that are bigs. And he took the action to the bigs on the other team. He likes contact. In fact, he actually needs it because he uses the contact against you because he's really good at understanding like leverage and where the contact's coming from. He spins the opposite direction to create a passing lane. And he had a couple of plays in the game I called where he had like lightning quick spins, like catching the ball like midway up the lane and he'd catch it. And then as soon as the defender went to put his forearm into his back, he spun off. And one time he got all the way to the rim and scored. The other time he spun off, but then there was traffic coming along the baseline. So he picked it up to avoid the turnover and then fired a pass to the other side of the court. And I was just like, man, this guy's maturity and awareness of what's going on, because the game is supposed to be faster. It's too fast. That's what everybody says. It's so much faster than what they were used to, their level of competition that all of these guys had before getting into this summer league. It didn't seem fast for him at all.
All right, there's Tim Legler. Great things that he had to mention there. The passing ability, his feel for the game, his basketball IQ, directing traffic out there. And that all plays into what I said after I first saw him play. Just the overall comfort level in which he was operating with. It was wild. I didn't expect that. Now, the big question with Hansen is going to be, of course, defense. How are you going to utilize him defensively? I mean, he would seem to be or appear to be a drop coverage candidate. What's going to happen when teams target him and put him in space? And can you find matchups to protect him to a degree so he's not caught in no man's land? How's he going to do in pick and roll coverage? These are all questions that I don't know the answer to. But that would be my concern in today's NBA. You got to be able to get out to cover the corner three. Pick and roll coverage is critical. And with bigs on the floor, when you get them away from the basket, how do they operate? In a lot of cases, not so well. It can become a serious problem. So that's going to be the issue, but they've got plenty of time to work on that. But on the other end, offensively, Hanson's one of those guys where if you're on the floor and you're making the right cut, you're moving without the basketball, he will find you. And that type of passing, that type of vision, anticipatory passing that we see from the great passers in the game, it opens up the offense. And when you have unselfish play like that, and it encourages everyone else to play unselfish, and good things come. And I'm all about the Blazers finding ways to get easy buckets. And if you can do that with movement and precise passing and a guy like young Hansen who can see over the defense, I think it's great. But Tim Legler, obviously a big fan. And I think with Hansen, he's turning heads because a lot of people, even people that cover the league, weren't real aware of Hansen or his abilities. Probably hadn't even heard of him before. And then you see him and you realize, like, oh, this guy's pretty good. This guy looks like a first-round talent. Maybe the Trailblazers discovered someone in the draft that's going to turn out to be a stud. And the great thing is for Hansen this year is that just based on roster alone right now, it looks like he's going to be able to play. Klingon will be your starter. They have Duop Reef. Robert Williams III would be the starter if healthy, but Robert Williams being healthy is a big if because he's only played in 26 games in 2 years with the Trailblazers. So you just don't know if he's going to be able to play or not, or how much he's going to be able to play. When will he be available? And then when he is back, he's almost certainly going to get nicked up again. And that will create opportunities for Hansen to be on the floor because Klingon can't play, 38 minutes a night. That's not going to happen. And then Duop Reef, he's not really a rotational player. He's a guy that can, plug and play. And he's more of a pick and pop. He plays the position a little bit differently. But Hansen will have a chance to play. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. We got big news coming up on the station next week. I can't say anything about it right now, but you'll find out on Monday what's coming next week here on 620 Rip City Radio, which is pretty exciting. So be sure to stay tuned for that. Shacker and I have been working feverishly behind the scenes to prepare for Monday. So we got some good things coming up on the station, which is really cool. But if you want to react, there's still time for you to jump on board. I want to hear from a DAMIAN fan. What's your reaction to the news that Lillard's coming back? When I first found out, I was speechless. I was sitting here preparing for the show, and then Chris Burkhart called me, and he's like, "Did you see it?" He's like yelling through the phone. "Did you see it?" And I'm like, "See what?" And he goes, "He's back." And he told me that Dame had signed with Portland. And I went straight to Shams and saw Chris Haynes, and sure enough, he signed a deal with the Trailblazers. And then I just sat in silence for a few minutes as I was trying to absorb the news because I wasn't expecting that. I knew that there was a possibility that Dame could make a return before the end of his career, but I certainly didn't expect the news to come down right now. But credit to Chris Haynes. He made the call the day that the news went down that the Bucks were going to buy him out and stretch out the deal, the remainder of his contract. Chris Haynes said when asked about it, I think he might have been on NBA TV, he said 2 teams to keep an eye on, Miami and Portland. Those were the 2 teams. And then I started to talk to people I know and knew that Portland was a possibility at some point, but no one thought that would go down this summer. Everyone thought that Dame would just rehab, that he would focus on getting his body right and kind of sit back and see what was available. And then when he was healthy, you could go out and sign with somebody next offseason because he was still getting paid out by the Bucks, some $22.5 million over the next 5 years. There was no urgency. So I thought he would be patient in that process. But the Blazers, Dame, Joe Cronin, his agent, Aaron Goodwin, they were able to get, together, have discussions, and they came to terms. Pretty amazing. It's pretty awesome, too. It's great to have him back. It reminds me of the Denver Broncos. And as you know, I love John Elway. He's my number one. Well, the Broncos, Elway retired, back-to-back Super Bowls. And then they went through all the way up until about 2008. And then Mike Shanahan, one of the all-time greats, was let go by Pat Bowlen. And then he hired Josh McDaniels, which at the time appeared to be a good hire. Young up-and-comer, worked with Bill Belichick. He's a genius. And he came in and was a total disaster. Absolute disaster. First year, they started out 6-0, and they finished out of the playoffs with a record of 8-8, went 2-6 down the stretch. In the second year, he was fired before the end of the second season, and he was caught filming an opponent when they were playing a game overseas in London. He embarrassed the franchise and was fired. He also got rid of Jay Cutler because he said Kyle Orton was his guy and drafted Tim Tebow in the first round. Well, Pat Bowlen got rid of McDaniels. I boycotted the team, and then he hired John Elway to come back and run the football operations. And when Elway came back, I came back, and I was like, this is awesome because you have a chance to connect with a former great who's going to come back and assist and help in the franchise. And I feel the same way about Dame. It was really bizarre seeing him in a Bucs uniform, wasn't it? Dame playing for the Bucs. Dame not in a Trailblazer uniform. And I knew from talking to people that he was not happy in Milwaukee. Not about the basketball, but being away from home and not being able to be a dad on a regular basis. It was brutal for him. And now he's back. And it's an opportunity for him to come back where he wants to be. He can be around family, be with his kids. And now he can have a chance to play basketball in Portland where he is beloved. And the connection here between Dame and community is just different. But that goes back to what we have here in Portland. And this is why it would be absurd for the NBA to consider moving the franchise out of Portland. This is a great NBA town. Is it a small market? Yes. Do we have our own assorted issues here in Portland? Yes. But ever since the team won the championship back in '77, there's been a special connection between community and team that is really unlike any other place in the NBA. Return of the Mac. This song's highly appropriate for a day like today. All right, 503-248-0620. Time for your calls if you want to jump on board. Big thanks to everyone who has jumped on board today. Great phone calls. And Michael and Lake Oswego, we'll get to your call next. You got the Rip City Drive with Chad doing. All right, let's go back to the phones. Michael in Lake Oswego, a good caller, is up on the Rip City Drive. Michael, appreciate you calling back, buddy. What's your take on Dame coming back home?
Oh, I think it's fantastic, man. I think for all the reasons you said, I think the community, I think it speaks volumes about him as a person. I just hope everybody understands, that he tore his Achilles, and he might not look exactly like the same guy anymore, but I think that's a secondary issue. I think he'll probably come out and amaze us. We'll never know that it was an issue, maybe like KD or something. Chad, my concern is about what Adam Silver said about us, that it worries me about the team being sold and moved, which is talking about the Moda Center needs to be replaced. That was news to me. I've never heard anybody talk about Moda Center being run down, needs to be replaced, needs to be updated. I still think it's a great place to watch a basketball game. I just don't understand.
I appreciate the phone call, Michael. I do know the Moda Center needs to be upgraded for sure. It's 30 years old, so there are issues with the building that need to be addressed. And also the age of the building limits the type of revenue streams you can have as a new owner. I do think, and I was talking with someone in Seattle today about this, that if the NBA is not going to expand right away, if any team's going to move, it's more likely that Memphis would be on the move instead of Portland. I don't think the league wants the Trailblazers to move. This is a successful city, an NBA city, with great fan support. And there are other cities that don't have the type of fan support that Portland does. It's been a strong NBA community for a long period of time. But again, what we're hoping for ultimately would be expansion. So Seattle will get their team, and then you have that Northwest rivalry. Let's go back to the phones. Dave in Clackamas. Dave, your reaction to the news that Dame's coming back, brother?
Oh, man, Chad, I am so – I can't believe the prodigal son has come back. I was so bummed when Dame left, and now it's just – I couldn't believe it. I heard something about Dame and the Blazers. I thought, well, maybe somebody's talking. And then when I found out he actually signed, it's like, yes. I mean, look at it. Dame is coming back with a team full of athletic, young, competitive players. I think he's going to actually have a chance to win with a lot of these great players. So I'm just so happy, Chad, that we got young Hansen and now we got Dame, and I'm really stoked for the years to come. I really appreciate it.
Hey, how excited are you? How much fun has it been for you to see the way young Hansen's been playing down in Vegas?
Oh, I'm just out of my mind. He's such a great passer. I never even heard of him when they drafted him, and I heard all the criticisms, and it's like, well, let's see him play, and it's like, that's a special gift when you can pass. Only Walton and Arvydas Sabonis in the history of the Blazers could ever do that, and now we got young Hansen. It's just going to be really fun to see him develop. He's only 20. And it's going to be great to see him develop. And you got, you got Tumani, you got Denny, and it just looks like we got a lot of up and coming competitive players. And I think it's a perfect time for Dame to come home. I'm so glad he came home because all I kept hearing was, "Oh, he's done. He's finished. He's never going to play." And I got to pinch myself, Chad. I can't believe it. Dame is actually coming home. So I think this is a great scenario for him to be able to come and play with these young up-and-comers. I think it's good things to come.
You got it, Dave. I appreciate the phone call. My man Dave in Clackamas, a good dude. Maria Duncan reached out to me. Hi, Chad. I am thrilled to have Dame back. I have a half-season ticket for this coming season. Now I am really thrilled. I want to be at that first game of the season this year and see the ovation he is going to get. Well, Maria, he's going to get a huge ovation. He's going to get a huge ovation. The fans are going to be, happy, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a special one. Dame is a special one. Big-time player, one of the all-time greats in Trailblazer franchise history, and someone that has embraced and loves the local area. It's pretty cool. Those type of guys don't grow on trees. So he is a special one. And I am interested to see what type of role they're able to carve out for him, how he fits in a year from now when he's back from injury. But right now, first things first, he's just got to focus on rehab and getting his body right. And for us, we can just sit back and enjoy. We have a lot of things to look forward to now. Dame's back. We've got young Hansen who's playing his tail off down at the Summer League. And we're entering into a season where the Trailblazers have a young nucleus that looks promising. Scoot, Shaden, Denny, Tamani, and Klingon. That's a lot of things to be excited about. And what I'm hoping for, my main goal for the team this year that I want to see is, that second half of the season, they were top 10 in defensive rating. I want to see this team be a top 10 defense throughout the entire season. And if they do that, good things are going to come. There's no question about it. All right, a couple of items that you need to know about. Coming up a week from Sunday on the 27th, it's Pup City, which is a 1.3K walk with your dog around the Moda Center campus. I'm going to be down there with Puppy Shots, and you can go to the Trailblazers website to register. They're going to have a lot of different vendors down there, so it's really cool. You go on the walk, and it's not too lengthy, so it's really for all ages. And they're going to do it in the morning before it gets warmer. And then when you're done, there's all sorts of things set up there at the Rose Quarter for your dogs to enjoy, different vendors you can check out, and it's just a good time to get together as a community. So go to trailblazers.com. It's presented by Tavo. You can register for that. And then on Monday, this coming Monday on the 21st, it's the 5th annual We Play Open out at Langdon Farms. It's got a 145 shotgun start, and 100% of the proceeds go to benefit the We Play Foundation, which is dedicated to providing access to sports for all children. And that's a good thing. Alex Brink, former Coug, Ryan DePaulo, former Duck, they're partners together with E4 Sports, which is a terrific company, but they're the ones who wanted to, really get this We Play Foundation going because they believe in athletics and the benefits it can bring to kids. So that's it. That's the key. That's what's going on. So we got the tournament on Monday. We got big news coming up on the station on Monday. And Pup City going to be on the 27th. And, of course, I'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. And, of course, if you want to podcast the show, we had multiple guests today. Chris Burkhart joined me in the first hour. Casey Holdaw at 4 o'clock. And then we spoke with Sean Heiken, our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report at 4:20. You can always listen to the show live or podcast it on our free iHeartRadio app. And then, as I mentioned before, you can, pull up YouTube, youtube.com, Rip City Radio 620, and you can access the live streams for our local shows and, of course, the different clips and full shows. Everything you need is right there. So a big thanks to Sean Heiken, Casey Holdaw, Chris Burkhart, and great phone calls today from you guys out there in Rip City. We appreciate it. Michael Shacker's the man. You guys have a great night, and we're back tomorrow with the Rip City Drive at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio.